Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for the preview of the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift in a later calendar slot this year because of the Olympics in France. So a couple of weeks after the men's Tour de France, we're back with the women's Tour de France. I can't wait to get into it. We're going to have the preview of all the 8 stages in detail, picking our winners, going through the big favourites, all the teams, as well as the points competition, who we think will win that, or the young riders jersey as well, which has slightly different rules compared to the men's race, as well as, I think a quick recap is in order eventually of how this season's gone up to this date on GC. It's been a little bit strange, I think, but this episode is brought to you by Join Cycling. We have a really big announcement, a groundbreaking announcement from Join Cycling in this episode a little bit later as well. But what happened in 2023 Tour de France Femmes, Benji, where we started to see some really heavy mountain stages introduced?
Certainly, and I think we need to look back at that era as the Demi Vollering versus Annemiek van Vleuten era. That was the last year where we had that battle between the two titans. We had Demi Vollering that came up in the last few years when it comes to GC, while Van Vleuten was more towards the end of her career, which ended last year, and that was kind of the pinnacle of the Tour de France Femmes 2023, and that fight was there, but I feel like it was kind of a battle where we would see a backloaded Tour de France last year, as in the last 2 mountain stages were the hardest, as in we've got the Col du Tourmalet on the second last day last year, and then the Pole Time Trial on the last day, and before that it was kind of a mix of flat parcours with hilly terrain. One of those stages was a 177 hilly parcours where we had action for GC, and then we could see, could Van Vleuten put pressure on Vollering in any way? That was kind of the fight we were looking at last year. And if I recall correctly, we started with a flat stage one, a flat stage. It was kind of not a flat stage because we were looking at whether Wiebes was going to win it or not in the sprint, and then Kopecky rode away on the final hill, and then we already started that Tour de France last year, Tour de France Femmes, with kind of multiple leaders in the team of SD Works at Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift 2023, and the question would then be, would Kopecky still work for Demi Vollering in the mountain stage, etc.? Well, not necessarily, but Reusser was very, very important, and let's be honest, I'll wrap it up very swiftly. On the Tourmalet, Vollering was just miles better than anyone else, despite furious attacking by Niewiadoma and so forth on descents, situations that were interesting. Vollering just destroyed everybody on the Tourmalet, right?
Really good mountain stage, but in the end, Vollering she drew the end of the that era and marked the beginning of a new era, which was her being declared best GC rider in the world. And on Tourmalet, we'd already seen it on Covadonga in the Vuelta last year, but she didn't win GC because of P-Gate. But in the Tour de France Femmes, she showed who's the best uphill. And this year, if we go into how the GC races have gone, she was not so, well, by her standards, not as good in the hill classics. And so maybe there was a little bit of thinking, like if you look at her terrible results, 3rd in Liège, 2nd in Flèche, 2nd in Brabant, top 10 in Flanders. Horrible, but you got to remember she did sweep the Ardennes last year, so she didn't win one. And Niewiadoma beat her straight up on the Mur de Huy. Yep. We were thinking, okay, maybe is she taking a step back? There was also clearly team issues. There was and is maybe still clearly team issues with the contract extension or lack thereof. And then she went to the Vuelta a España Femenina, which is a 1-week race, a week after Liège. The finishes weren't that hard, and she straight up cooked everybody on like 5-6% climbs over 10, 15, 20 minutes. Just dropped them off the wheel with no one pacing for her, and she won GC there. She went to Azulia, won the last stage, won GC there with a big 30k solo, and then in Burgos she won 2 stages and destroyed everybody there with big solos.
There was one day, I think, at Burgos where, was it Burgos or was it Zulia, where Evita Muzic beat her? Or was it, actually, it might have been Vuelta Femenina, the first of the 3. Because I swear there was... Go ahead. Was it Vinuesa?
It was Vinuesa. Muzic beat her. But Vollering had been leading her out a lot. to be honest. So, but still, she wasn't unbeatable. Yeah, as you say, she was beaten. And then she went to Tour de Suisse and also won 3 stages, including the TT, which was an uphill. It was Mount TT to Villars-sur-Orlan, and won GC there. And also, like, she was put under huge pressure by Canyon SRAM, both on stage 3 where they won the stage, and particularly on stage 4 where they were countering her, and she still won that stage ahead of ELB. So she's won 4 World Tour stage races on the trot. She's done it pretty much on her own, and she's cooked everybody uphill. So despite the Ardennes, in terms of GC, she's looking just as good, maybe even better than she was in 2023, where she lost the Vuelta to Van Vleuten and where she lost Tour de Suisse. No, she didn't. She gave it to Reusser, but you know what I mean.
And well, you said it, you hinted at it already. Yeah, in the team, there was some uncertainty. First of all, we don't know where she's going to be riding next year officially. There's some rumors, some really solid rumors that she might be going to FDJ Suez, and that might have an indication to why we have seen limited support for her in those stages. Because I swear it was at La Vuelta where there were mountain stages where she was climbing the entire climb her own, while there were teammates literally in the group that were not pacing for her. I don't expect that to be the case at the Tour de France Femmes. Like, sorry, but if they don't do that at the most important race in the season, then they're wasting opportunities to put Vollering in the best possible position to win this race. So I don't expect that to be the case in this race. I'm hoping that for Demi Vollering as well. And I also want to point out, you mentioned, first of all, Hill Classics. She didn't win one of them. She looked under what she was last year in those races. And then she came back in those stage races like Vuelta, like Itzulia, like Burgos, and won those. But in that third stage of Tour de Suisse, you said it, Canyon SRAM put her under pressure. When we go over the teams, I do want to take a look at the team strength of SD Works and whether similar strategies, team-based strategies from Canyon SRAM, from other teams, could be again used against Demi Vollering, because I think that's going to be a pretty interesting discussion.
I think so too, because if you look at who has the 2 best climbers in the race, it's not SD Works, but we'll get into that in a second. And as we're continuing the podcast and refreshing, teams are continuing to announce their lineups. Human Powered Health just announced. So we're recording this at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, the 7th of August. The race starts, for your information, on Monday. 8 stages. 2 of those are on one day. So I got confused. I thought it started this weekend because it was 8 stages, and that's what normally happens. Like the Dauphiné starts on a Sunday because it's 8 stages, but then I got confused. It's 2 stages on one day, but they're not called A and B, which is a bit of a wrinkle. We haven't seen that in a while, but yes, it starts on Monday. But we do have most of the big teams and the majority of the teams with an announced start list, and also a pretty good, let's just say, if the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift Twitter and Instagram account is publishing a talking head piece with a rider like Sarah Gigante, and I'm going to assume that she's going to the Tour.
I'm going to assume the same. Now, the reason that we've got such a weird calendar this year is the Olympics. This race is put after the Olympics. Normally, it was after the men's Tour de France. And now it's actually kind of clashing with the men's Vuelta, the last 2 stages of this race, which it's a bit unfortunate that it's going to clash, because that might reduce a little bit of the viewership of the Tour de France Femmes, which I would have hoped it would be as maximized as possible. But I still think those are actually going to be the most important stages, because the mountain stage are once again pretty backloaded. But I guess we're going to be going over the stage a bit later after we go over all the favorites as well. So I'll throw it back to you.
Well, just be real, like realistically, commercially, it's not good to overlap with the big men's races. It's not the ideal, and the way it's been in the past is perfect. You take the momentum out of the 3-week men's race, you go straight into the women's race. It's worked perfectly well, and you have a full month of Tour de France cycling galore. I love it. But the same with the Giro Donna. I assume priority 1 for RCS, who I think own the race now, or at least have the rights to organise the race. I think priority 1 for them is going to be moving that so it doesn't overlap with the Tour de France men's race, because you can say what you like, but the reality is, like, there's no men's race that's on during the Tour de France men's race for a reason. It's the biggest show in town, and so if you want interest, you don't want to overlap with those races. But this is just a strange year with literally once in 100-year occurrence of Parisian Olympics. So next year it'll be back to its normal slot.
In 4 years, you've got the LA Olympics.
Yeah.
And currently the dates for the Olympics are from halfway July to the end of July. You think that's going to impact Tour de France at all?
So Americans take their holidays at a different time to Europeans. Because European holidays for summer is usually 1 June to September 30, in my experience, in most places.
Wait, holidays from June 1 to the September 30? How many months are you taking off?
Not me. It's just when I need something from a business or a government department.
School holidays in Belgium are like July 21st of June to July 1st towards probably last of August or something.
Yeah, well, the LA Olympics, I presume the organizing committee is like Kim Kardashian and Leonardo DiCaprio, so who knows when it's going to be. And I don't know, maybe it'll be too hot there in August, I don't know. But anyway, I'm really excited for this edition of the Tour de France Femmes. We've got a stacked start list, and as Benji said, we've got some team tactics we've got to talk about in a second. But first, a really big announcement, and it's something really cool from Join Cycling. They're an innovative, new, agile company, and they're constantly rolling out new features and trying to push the boundaries of what's been done before in cycling training and cycling individualization. And they have just launched a new feature called the Period Tracker feature, which is designed to address a vital aspect of female athletes training, being that integrating menstrual cycle data with endurance sports metrics. So already now, anybody can put their readiness score. Join Cycling are adding another feature, the Period Tracker feature, which allows female athletes to add in data on their menstrual cycle. So while these impacts have been generally understood, the academic research available around these impacts in sport and training remains highly limited. Join wants to deepen the understanding of these impacts in support of female athletes by integrating period tracking into their adaptive training platform, which enables athletes to adjust their training plans in accordance with the various phases of their menstrual cycle. This new period tracker allows female users to log their menstrual cycles and combine this data with heart rate, RPE, power, the things that you would think, like I'm already doing with my readiness score, need to be combined. And so this feature marks a significant step towards personalized training plans that consider the unique physiological needs of female athletes. And in addition, Join will support further research on the impact of the menstrual cycle on sports performance by collaborating with the Martini Hospital. And also, this approach to this aspect of training is undertaken in partnership with the Dutch Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology's own Sport and GYN Knowledge Network, and Dr. Anna Marin van der Graaf, who's a noted sports physiologist, who says the following. So often, women are expected to train in the same way as their other teammates, men and women alike, without consideration to the regular impacts that come from their own unique cycles. And so we cannot ignore the impacts of fluctuating hormonal levels, iron availability, visible blood loss, and other contributors to fatigue, discomfort, and mental state that should be considered as athletes train towards athletic performance. So the way this will work is, as more and more women use the period tracker feature, the feature will become more precise and beneficial for users, including predicting menstrual cycles and incorporating the data to adjust training plans to the specific athlete's needs. But of course, any data sharing with that academic study or with academic institutions for the purpose of the research is a secondary opt-in by users. It's not the default setting. The default setting is just you logging it yourself and having the data staying with Join, but you can opt in to that study. If you want more information about this cool new feature from Join Cycling, I'm really proud to be partnered with Join Cycling actually on LRCP throughout the year because of things they're doing like this.
Yep.
You can check out more information at join.cc through the link down below. Okay, Benji, we're on to, we got to start first, the SD Worx Pro Time team. Run me through them.
So we've got obviously Demi Vollering at the start here. There's no Lotte Kopecky at this Tour de France Femmes. That is because the Olympics, yes, that is huge because she was second in the Tour de France Femmes last year from that same team. Now she's not here, and the reason is the Olympics have just ended once this race starts, and Omnium is in the last few days of that, and she's going for medals in that Omnium, and she has prioritized that over the Tour de France Femmes, or at least has seen it as not being able to combine both these goals, so she's not at the Tour de France Femmes, which that's kind of unfortunate. Not having Lotte Kopecky at the Tour de France Femmes is like not having Wout van Aert or Mathieu van der Poel at the Tour de France. It's kind of, there's like a little thing missing. Well, then again, Mathieu van der Poel missing at the Tour de France. He was kind of half missing anyway. But instead, we've got the following team next to Demi Vollering. Obviously, Lorena Wiebes. She's the best sprinter in the world, and she's a big candidate for sprints in this race. And she's got a proper lead out, to be honest. Barbara Guarici has been really good this season when it comes to lead out. Some proper ones in there, and she's probably going to be a solid lead out again in this race. And the rest of the team, I got to be honest, Fisher Black, Nee Fisher Black, clearly mountain domestique for Demi Vollering.
Well,
or
maybe in theory.
Is she still indicative or an option for the white jersey? That's also a possibility. I don't know the... is it 25 or 23 at Tour de France? It must be 25, right?
She's not eligible for the white jersey.
Really? Jesus Christ. My age is wrong.
She's already 23 and she's turning 24 this year. So it's they have to be
okay.
Yeah, a year younger than her. She was eligible last year, but not eligible this year.
Rest of the team is kind of domestiques that could work on multiple terrains, but I'd say Miska Bredewald is the one that I would point towards as could also be a climbing domestiques for Vollering if necessary. Blanca Vache is also relatively versatile, but it's interesting, eh?
They don't climb so well.
Yeah, Majerus also. So that's a team, by the way. Vollering, Wiebes, Majerus, Guarici, Fisher Black, Vache, and Bredewald. Majerus sounds to me like the flat ruler.
Yep. And Guarici, if she has to. On the other stages, she can do it. But to be honest, like I like Vache, Bredewald, and as riders, but they're actually on the long climbs. They're really not, or even like a 10-minute climb, they're not that good. Like if Bredewald did win in Itzulia twice, I think, but it was sprints.
Yep.
After a climb, like she can get over a hill. Don't get me wrong, they get over a hill, but they're not like. Don't expect them to see them after Glandon on the last stage before Alpe d'Huez. That's for sure.
But on Glandon, I think Bredewald could do work.
Yeah, at the start for sure. But just in the Vuelta, Fisher Black never set a pace for Vollering. Vollering would go to the front on all the climbs and just start pacing herself at the start, and Fisher Black never set a pace for her. So can they get away with that in this Tour de France Femmes? It's going to depend on the other riders. But when I look at the watts of Vollering, when she really unleashes on the long climbs, we don't have a lot of data points. We have like one on Tourmalet last year. We have some of the other climbs this year where they were shallow and she still ruined everybody. But so everyone's improving really fast. So this is not like a static 5-year period like where Froome dominated in the Sky era where people weren't changing watts too much. Like other riders are really, really improving fast. But as it stands at the moment, Vollering looks so much better than everybody else. And that stage 8 is so hard that even if she doesn't get full team support on that particular stage, she can still win by 4 minutes anyway. My concern with this team is the other stages is, say, stage 4. Stage 4 is a good example, yeah. Or even stage 8 has a 12K 5% climb, 100, and it crests over 100Ks from the finish. If I'm another team like Canyon, who are unfortunately Bauernfein's not in, but if I'm, or maybe even not even Niedermeyer, you can get SD Works down to 2 riders, 100Ks from the finish. I'm pretty confident you can. And then you have like rolling terrain where Fisher Black, who's like sub 50 kilos, she's strong, but that is where you got to put pressure. Trying to do it on stage 8, good night.
Spoilers. I think that's a wonderful scenario in our heads. And I think logically, tactically, that would be the way to go for if you go for winning. But realistically, if Nivea Doma or something is on the podium, then I don't expect Canyon to risk it all in the first 50 kilometers of the last mountain stage to win the race. I think they're going to go for that podium at the Tour de France Femmes.
I believe in Canyon SRAM. So yeah, well, to move on to them, but yeah, the SD Works team, it's a mixture of a team. It's, I don't know. On paper, if everyone does their role, it's still more than good enough. Don't get me wrong; they can win 4 or 5 stages and GC.
Honestly, I'm going through the stages, and I don't think it's the major problem. And the reason I'm saying that is because when I look at the stages, I think stage 4 is what you would consider will go through the stages properly later, but it's basically the second half is a mini hill classic with climbs that we know from LBL, La Redoute, Forges, Rochefoucauld, Boncel. It's literally the last 40k of LBL. And yes, on La Redoute with 50 kilometers to go, 30 kilometers to go actually, yes, it's possible that Canyon SRAM decides to go with Nivea Doma on that climb, etc. But at that point, Fisher Black should still be there. So it's like when I look, for example, at stage 7 then, which is the second last stage of this race, also a mountain stage. Then I look at the first 50 kilometers, and yes, there's a climb in there, called La Cuadra de la Sierra, 12 kilometers at 5%. Fisher Black's going to be there. And then after that, for 50 kilometers, ups and downs. I think that might be the one where you can make it hard enough for SD Works to have limited riders after the first climb. And then towards the middle up and down zone, there you can maybe roll attacks or something. But then you're risking yourself on the last climb if you have ambitions to win this race. So I'm not sure teams will necessarily try to exploit that weakness of SD Works.
I mean, the stage in the Vuelta where SD Works looked pretty vulnerable was stage 3. They completely lost control in like break formation and on an early 15-minute climb at about 5%. And a break went with Nivea Doma and Bradbury. They weren't close on GC at that point, but still, Vollering started to get very, very, very nervous in the group, in the plateau, and then eventually started pacing a group of 30 herself, and then stopped, and then let Bredevold come back. So at least like Bredevold and Co, they're not going to be far behind, so they should be able to control it. But I think you can make them nervous. So let's move to that team that we've been talking about. Probably the biggest threats for the upset, Canyon SRAM Racing, bringing Skalniak Sojka, good Polish all-round domestique, Alice Towers, the Brit, Soraya Paladin, very, very good hill rider, Shabby the same, is more than just a hill rider, she's actually a mountain domestique, Bradbury's probably a top 5 climber in the world right now, Nivea Doma, and yeah, I saw her on a Col d'Ordino the other day, she's actually moving well.
Lion.
Moving well. So, and then Nivea Doma, of course, she was 3rd last year, but the 2nd best climber. And Chloe Dygert is also announced in the team as well. There is indeed an individual time trial which she can win. So it's a good all-round team, Benji. Not too much flat support if Dygert doesn't do it, but to be honest, it doesn't really fall on them to do it. I think this is actually the strongest all-round team in the hills and mountains.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's a very well-rounded team. Nivea Doma obviously podiumed this race last year and was pretty aggressive on that second last stage, which was that final proper mountain stage. And Bradbury, like you said, has grown. Shabby Paladin, very versatile as riders. And Skalniak Sojka, yeah, young, but has proven herself this year already. And Dygert also relatively versatile as well. Also pretty good rouleur skills, I would argue. And I look at the team and I see those possibilities in strength. We'll get through the tactics that they can use to outplay SD Works on specific stages once we go to the stages. I also want to go towards a different team, little Trek, which is that 3rd team that, if I go to the start list, there's 3 teams that I'm like, okay, these are the bigger teams on the start list, how I perceive it. Little Trek is one of those, with Realini. This is unconfirmed list, by the way. Realini, Balsamo, Longo Borghini, Amanda Spratt, Van Androoy, Van Dijk, and Brandt. Now, Van Dijk had issues, of course, 6 weeks ago, because she broke her ankle. Her think right foot or something, and a finger. Not 100% certain about those specific body parts, but were 3 fractures. And when it comes to Longoborghini, she won the Giro d'Italia women against Lotte Kopecky. That's not Demi Vollering. So, and it was very close. I think Demi Vollering wins that race by a solid margin if she goes. So I think there's still quite a bit of a difference between those two. But Realini was the one that a year and a half ago we would have said, okay, when it comes to pure climbing, she's the one. But is it weird to say that I've missed something this year?
No, on her feet she wasn't that good. Her watts might have even been worse than the year before, and then her problems on descents and rolling terrain, everyone knows them. Like it's so clear and obvious that it's so exploitable. So she's not really a big threat except for stage 8. If she can get to the base of Alpe d'Huez fresh, then of course she's in the hunt for the stage win, in theory, but she already probably will have shipped a load of time on GC. So I really see Kane and Schramm as the big threat, but Little Trek, of course, with Elisa Longoborghini, who in the road race, I don't know, maybe something happened, but she won the Giro d'Italia. She's the first Italian woman to do that for quite a while, but that was ahead of Lotte Kopecky, and it was ahead of Bradbury, but actually on Blockhouse, Bradbury beat Kopecky and Longoborghini with a 10K solo, and she was clearly a better climber. So I don't think Longoborghini is a top 3 climber in this race. She hasn't been a top 3 climber this year. In the Vuelta Femenina, Little Trek won the opening team time trial in Valencia, but on the shallower climbs like Vinuesa, she came 5th, for example, behind Rihanna Marcus. On what was it? The other stage, short uphill finish, she also lost like 28 seconds to Vollering, the Alto del Fuerte Repetan. So she's probably a top 5 climber in the race, top 6 climber in the race, pure climber. She's also much better than others in the other terrain, like the Liège terrain. But I think it's going to be tough for Little Trek, actually, to really influence the race.
I want to talk about Niewiadoma a little bit more when it comes to her season so far. Yes, she won La Flèche Wallonne, fucking finally. When it comes to the rest of the races, I think in La Volta Femenina, she got ill after stage 4 on the same day that
she was sick coming into it, I think.
Yeah, that Realini left the race as well. And I feel like this year I haven't seen the major climbing performances yet, also because she left La Vuelta before the major climbing stages were really there, and she was sick in that race. And on the Mountain TT and Tour de Suisse, I wasn't
was terrible.
Impressed either.
That was a shit performance. I don't know if she was sick there too.
I need something when it comes to Niewiadoma, because right now I have to base myself on last year when it comes to Tour de France Femmes. She podium. She looked great in the mountains, but I haven't seen that this year. She was solid at the Olympics, the road race. She top 10 that. But there has not been a long climbing effort this year, because let's be honest, Valenciana at the start of the year, she ended up fighting against, I think, Reusser and Fisher Black, and was it Fisher Black that won on Chile de Cati?
Yeah.
I think so. Ahead of Realini and Niewiadoma, and you'd expect Niewiadoma to be at least on Fisher Black's level on a climb like that. Then again, that's the early season, so I feel like I'm missing something as confirmation this year that Niewiadoma will be there when it comes to podium stuff.
She's probably the best descender in the women's peloton, just about. That helps off the back of Glandon if it opens up there. But yeah, I agree. We've not seen it yet. Maybe they over-raced her a little bit when she could have been resting around that Vuelta Swiss period. She did the Thuringen and Ladies Tour, which didn't suit her. I'm not sure why. But yeah, we'll see. I presume she's preparing well. And she was okay in the Olympic Games road race. She missed the split, or she was pretty good, but she got caught behind because the Diet crash. So we don't really know. We don't really know what she's going to be like on the long climbs. I'm assuming she's the big threat. Just to rattle through some of the other teams, AG Insurance Soudal isn't confirmed yet, but I would say Sergio Ganti is there. with Ashley Moolman. Ashley Moolman's probably their main GC leader, and they're hoping Gigante can fly under the radar. Kimberly Pienaar, who's been one of the revelations this year, the Mauritian rider, is 28 years old in her first year at AG Insurance. She's top 50 rider in the world already, probably better than that. And she also won the last stage of the Giro. She's there, so look out for her, as well as Julie van der Velde and Justine Gekir on the provisional. So they're probably hoping for, I would say, a top 5 on GC from Moolman. She came 6th last year, so it's not unreasonable, and probably a stage win, I dare say. Cofidis, Victoire Berthaud, again, probably hoping for a stage win from her in the mixture or in a breakaway or something. They also bring Kern, Noskova, Aldzini, Sarah Roy for the sprints, Josie Talbot, who's signed to Liverpool Jayco next year and it's been quite good in some one-day races this year. And Hannah Ludwig is their climber, no? I think she won a race this year, so she could do pretty well. Which other teams, Benji, stick out to you?
Well, first of all, I must say though, when it comes to AG Insurance, with Moolman, I've kind of got the similar feeling as I had with Nivea Loma. Yes, we saw her at the Hill Classics, but after that, she I think became ill as well at Catalunya. Didn't start the second stage, and at the Olympic Road Race, she was kind of nowhere. But the parkour kind of didn't really fit her anyway. So I don't know where she is when it comes to her level. It's kind of like we're going in blind when it comes to Ashley Moolman into the Tour de France Femmes. And that's the one concern I have in that department, but that's seemingly with quite a bit of riders. And there's one team that I think we need to talk about before we talk about some others, because they're in my opinion, quite a solid outsider team, and that is FDJ Suez, because let's be honest about it, Music was the one rider that on a mountaintop finish beat Vollering this year. And yes, we can say that it is because Vollering paced a lot on that climb and didn't have much team help. That was the case, but she still did it. So Evita Music is here for FDJ Suez, and if we take a look at her results in the past, obviously when it comes to the Tour de France Femmes last year, I'm pretty sure, didn't she crash out last year? I remember her not finishing the Tour de France Femmes last year. No, she crashed out after stage 4 or 5, something like that. But in 2022, she was the 8th rider in the race in GC, and she's climbing a lot better now this year because she has the credits when it comes to actual climbs this year. Vuelta Femenina was obviously one of the better races for her, but she lost quite a bit of time during stages to then come back on the pure mountain stages, where she then competed against Vollering. And in the end, she did finish 5th in GC, despite being better than the 5th best climber in the race, I would say. In Itzulia then, that's where it was kind of a bit disappointing to me. Then she came back for Burgos, and in Burgos, she then got 2nd. So then she gets on the podium and with a great result again. And then at Catalunya, it's once again a little bit disappointing, but there, Catalunya wasn't necessarily the, how can I say it, the major top mountain finishes. No, it was more the...
Well, it's still La Molina, like it's still a decent climb, mountain finish.
Yeah, and I don't know,
it's been
ups and downs.
She's done 41 race days. They've over-raced her.
Yeah. She's basically done every single stage race this year, including Tour Down Under, including Valenciana, including Vuelta.
TDU's got to count for double the race days, right? In terms of the fatigue.
No,
for the travel one. That's what I mean, like the travel and stuff.
True. That's very true. And obviously, she's not alone at this race when it comes to FDJ Suez. And I'm pretty sure my star list is loading, but Grace Brown is projected to be here as well, together with Loes Adergeest, Cecily Uttrup-Ludwig, who was back from that injury, Amber Kraak, who started the year off well, Coralie Demey, and Léa Curinier, who's definitely going to be there because she was in one of those videos.
Yeah, check the videos on the Twitter. Yeah, so she gone.
But in this team, I think based on this year, I have personally the most confidence in GC from Evita Music, but Ludwig also got a top 10, if I recall correctly, at Giro d'Italia Women.
Ludwig's not climbing.
She's not climbing at the speed that she needs to for a top 5, but I think a top 10 is not impossible.
It's not, but I think they're going to want to go all in for the French GC rider, and so I think Music Muzic is their out-and-out GC leader. I see some really
Against
good
Labou.
stage against Labou. Yeah, there's some really good stages for Ludwig in the middle of the race, where she's already won a Tour de France punchy uphill finish before in the first year's edition of the race. And Grace Brown can, of course, win the TT or be the attacker on. I mean, she won Liège-Bastogne-Liège. We literally do the finish of Liège-Bastogne-Liège. So they have stage-winning options. Krak is strong. Argeis is strong.
Yeah.
Cournier is a helper. They're an all-around team. Will they probably win the race? No. But they're
Top
still
5 is the aim, realistically.
top 5 and being the first place French rider on GC with a stage win is what they're going for, I think. So not bad goals at all. Moving on to just quickly DSM, who, if we're speaking about French GC riders, she's just got announced to go to FDJ Suez next year with quite a nice announcement, actually. Juliette Labou is their GC leader, the French rider. Charlotte Kool is their sprinter, the only rider who has beaten Wiebes straight up in sprints.
Yeah, but
sort of with regularity, not this year, but has before.
Yeah, this year it's been a bit less when it comes to Charlotte Kool. I feel like this year the distance between Wiebes and Charlotte Kool is significant, and towards the second half of last year, or for a large part of last year as well, I feel like that distance was notable. Going into every single sprint stage in this race, Wiebes will be the main favorite by a significant margin. And I think Kool is still close enough for DSM to focus completely on her in those stages. But outside of that, next to a Balsamo and a Consonni maybe, there's not that many teams that should be looking for that sprint anymore. There's a lot of teams that should probably try and go into breakaways. The likes of Phoenix, for example. Phoenix de Koning, that's the kind of team as well. But about Balsamo, I think she needs to have the same exact goals as Muzic to go for a top 5. That's very realistic.
Labou.
But Labou, yeah. Did I say something else?
You said Balsamo. I was like,
Jesus Christ.
What info do you have on Balsamo?
I mean, Labou, the French GC rider, of course. And low-key, it wouldn't shock me if she's close to podium, because her time trial is actually pretty good as well.
I think she should beat Muzic. She's a better rider. Overall, her TT is better. The TT here isn't that long, unfortunately for her, because she could take a really good time on Muzic in the TT or on even Niewiadoma. She came fourth in the Olympic Games TT. She's just an all-round better rider on the flat, on hilly terrain. So I think podium is a realistic goal. It really is, because I can see a world where Labou beats Elisa Longo-Borghini here or beats whoever else. So I think she's in a good place. Her support in the mountains isn't so good because they really have brought a lead out. They brought Georgie. No shame in that. She's a great rider. Barbieri's the last woman for Kool. Kool herself. Kool's not like Kool. The biggest difference in her and Weavers is Kool's fitness is just not good enough, actually, for a lot. Like in the Vuelta stages, she just cannot make it. Luckily for her, we're in the Rotterdam, sorry. In the Netherlands sprints in Rotterdam in the city, they're probably going to do 150 watts and sprint, so she should be fine. Franziska Koch, all-round helper. And Becky Story's probably going to be the last woman for Labou, if I'm not mistaken, unless if I'm underrating Francesca Barale, who's she's good in the hill races. Maybe it's her, but Story actually was like 12th on her feet or something. So, but then she didn't show anything for the rest of the year. Then she crashed. So the mountain support of Labou.
Yeah, the mountain support of Labou is basically kind of inexistent. But when I look at that mountain support, I'm also thinking, okay, you're going for top 5, so
follow
for that top 5 podium, kind of solo. You can do that. It's more we're after Glandon. Who's gonna get your gel? Who's gonna get your beat on from the car?
But Labou I swear she did too much work on Tourmalet last year.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. And also, like, what happens if Little Trek, if they have a stronger all-round team with Van Anrooy and they get into a breakaway? We're going to talk about those tactics soon. Like, are DSM strong enough to do anything, Like, if they play... Because these other teams can play 2 leaders. Fisher Black, Vollering, Riolini, Longo-Borghini, Niewiadoma, Bradbury. They can put one in the break. if Story's in the break, that doesn't help DSM or Lebu. So
I low-key believe that she's kind of stuck in the position. Obviously, it depends on where in GC she is, whether she needs to be more risky or not. If she's 8th in one of the last stages, she needs to go for that top 5 and needs to risk something and go with whoever the second leader of another team is that goes. But if not, then it's not unlikely that she just sits in with Vollering and hopes that the move up ahead explodes and that Vollering brings her back that way. Obviously, she might eventually or is likely to get dropped by Vollering on the climb itself, but it's not like SD-Works won't be riding behind that second tier attack unless Fisher Black is in there and they play her as a co-leader, and those are discussions for later.
Yep. Moving on to one of the most exciting teams in women's cycling, EF Oatley Cannondale. I think this is like a really, really strong team. Alison Jackson, who in the Vuelta won a stage with it, and she was so good on the short hill. Lotta Hentala is, I would say, their bunch sprinter, and Jackson can give her a lead out. Magdalene Valliere is sort of all-round help, I would say, but she also won a race herself this year in Spain. Noemi Rug just came 7th in the Olympic Games road race, clearly in good shape, all-round rider. Kim Kadzau, one of the most improved riders this year. She was 8th in Swiss, but also was actually better than that. She crashed on the last stage. She would have, I think, almost podiumed the race on GC or top 5. She was good in the Vuelta too. Clara Edmond.
Jersey?
I think white jersey, she would have won it. Clara Edmond, another Canadian.
Against maybe, I think Ella Wiley was close last year. He got 2nd there. When it comes to the white jersey at the Tour de France Femmes, she's still 22, Kadzau, so she's also eligible. So I'd be writing her down as potential rider going for that if she indeed goes all out for GC, which after some of the results she had this year, you'd say so. Then again, at Giro d'Italia Women, that wasn't the case, but I also remember that she wasn't fully up and top in that race.
I think you got to be born in 2002. You got to be 2002 to get it. I think she's a year too old. She born 2001. Really? Yeah, PCF says she's not eligible for Youth GC.
I was looking at the age. I see 22, so I was like,
yeah,
it makes sense. But it's you can't become 23 this year.
Correct. And she's December. She's a December born. And the last rider needs no introduction, Kristen Faulkner. I hope they got a gold bike and everything kitted out for her, ready for this race. The 31-year-old American who they signed as well. They signed her this is her first year with the team, and she also won a stage in the Vuelta and was 2nd on another stage. So in terms of GC, that's not the focus at all, except for Kadzau doing her best and maybe going for a top 10, I would say. But they are going to go for stage wins with Faulkner, with Ruick, with Jackson. They'll go for the sprints with Hentala, and they got a good lead out for it too. Very, very good team. Looking forward to seeing what they can do.
It's the kind of team where you expect panache, you expect action, you expect to see them on screen. The same thing we had with Finn Koenig last year, and with the team they have this year of Finn Koenig, I expect similar things. And Christina Schweinberger, good rider, we know that already. Last year, Marta Truijn in the breakaway, Yara Kostlijn winning a stage from the breakaway. Julie de Wilde was in the white jersey for a little bit at the start of the race last year, if I recall correctly. She's a bit of I'd say a versatile sprinter. She won a lot of those 1.1 classics in Belgium. Paulina Royakkers was actually pretty close in Giro Don. She got 4th in the Giro d'Italia Women, so she can climb. Time trial, not too sold on necessarily. And currently on the start list is also Carina Schrempf. So that is an Austrian champion. She can actually climb quite well. I remember from Burgos that she was pretty solid on some of the climbs. We're talking top 30. So this is potentially climby breakaway situation or try and go for GC and see where we finish kind of situation for Carina. But Buck Petersen is number 1 on the team, I would say, when it comes to the list, or at least the one I'm most intrigued by. Because Royakkers is definitely the GC candidate on paper. Yara Kostlijn and Seville will be going for stages.
I think Kostlijn's going for GC.
Really?
Yeah. She's 8th at the Vuelta. Why not? Third on Vinuesa.
Last year she won a stage. Then again, if you want a stage already, you might as well go for GC this time.
Peterson can do that. She's like the one-day rider.
She can go for stages.
Yeah.
And she hasn't ridden a stage race in her entire life.
She's not going to go for GC. She can't. She doesn't sprint, so she has to go for a stage.
But it's a number one rider that I'm actually looking forward to seeing what she can achieve in this race, because she's kind of the Femme van Empel on Phoenix de Koning, is how I perceive it.
She's the big star, yeah.
Yeah, in the one-day races, sorry, but if you can climb properly at Alfredo Binda, if you can do RVV Classic, you can get over hills and so forth, she can win the Liège stage, to be on a stage 4 from the breakaway. She can win a stage like that, and to be honest, she can even... Go ahead.
If I was a betting man, I'd bet... where is she? Let me see the rules. How old is she? I would bet Pug Peterson to win the youth jersey on GC.
Really?
She'd never done a stage race before, but just what you said, like, if they're physically good enough to do so well in the classics where they're doing 2-minute climbs and the VO2 max system is that developed against Vollering and Elisa Longoborghini, then, like we saw Sharon Van Anrooy against... Did she win L'Avenir last year?
Yes.
And she's a classics rider, right? So
and Van Empel proved it last year on Giro d'Italia Women, no? She got...
Yeah. So Peterson probably can actually do really well on GC.
But Bradbury is also eligible.
Oh, then good luck.
So I think Bradbury is the most likely to win on
That's
tape.
going to be a good competition. But yeah, don't be surprised to see Peterson up there, like Benji said. Very, very keen to see what the big talent can do. Human Powered Health have announced Audrey Cordon-Rigaud, Ruth Edwards, Romy Kasper, Barbara Malcotti, Daria Pikulik, Marat Rakmais, and Lily Williams. Pikulik, I think, is going to be their sprinter, and Lily Williams is going to be the lead out. It's actually quite a good train and combination. So don't be surprised to see them top 3ing some sprints. Actually, like that's actually a really good train they have, and that has to be the focus. Cordon-Rigaud, I think, has to go for a stage. I think anything else is just not realistic. Laboral Kucha Fundación Es Euskadi. You're probably thinking, why are you talking about this team? Actually, they have Ana Santesteban on the team. She came from Jayco last year, and she came eighth in the race last year. And they also have, I want you to write down this rider in your little black books, Uzoa Ostolaza, most Basque name I ever heard. She's from Zarutz, which I was in last week, actually. Beautiful place to the west of San Sebastian. She's 26. She won the Tour Feminine International de Pyrenees, including winning the stage to Obisque, 5th in Andalusia, won Spanish Natty Champs. She's a good rider. Just write it down in your little book.
And it's like, we're not expecting this rider to top 5 the race.
No.
But she might be in a climbing group that, I don't know, remember Strade Bianche with all the big favorites, and then suddenly in the men's race, and then suddenly Michael Gogol was there? Or for example, was it Brabantse Pijl women's last year, when suddenly Margot van Pachtebeke was together with Demi Vollering in a group? That kind of situation, when suddenly she's in a group and you're like, who's this rider? She could be in that group. So I agree with you. Those are the 2 riders we're looking for to sing in that team for certain. And have we spoken about Team Visma Leasebike? Because Marianne Vos, we got to talk about Marianne Vos, because there's quite a few stages that she's going to be going for. She's going to be going for sprints, of course, as well. But also she can be fighting for the hilly stage. It's an easier version of LBL. It's only the last 40 kilometers. Before that, it's easier. But then again, Anna Henderson, when it comes to punch, also really good. Femke de Vries, new signing, directly sent towards new signing, relatively new signing, signed in the middle of the year, but will be going towards Tour de France Femmes after already doing Giro d'Italia Women. This is kind of the equivalent on the men's side of sending a neo-pro to a Grand Tour. Femke de Vries, straight up towards all the big races. And what's your take on her?
Oh, she's just a good all-round rider, and we saw she came 3rd on that Swiss stage, I think, behind Bradbury. So just a good all-round strong rider. FirstCycling has also Linda Riedman, who was good in, or maybe won a stage in the Thuringen Tour. No, she was like top 3rd on one of the stages, which was she's looking good. And Sophie van Bersvoort, so they're both helpers, I would say. Riedman and von Bersvoort. Fem van Empel, we did a wild card. Yeah, I'm used to saying van.
I don't know.
Vos is
top 10 this race in GC.
Van Empel. Man,
The problem is
she's shown nothing in the
my
stage
issue is the
races this
Giro.
year.
Catalonia, she was good.
No, she wasn't.
Solid. She was solid. Like,
Benji, they
you
were.
can't expect her to win it.
Marianne Vos won the mountain stage.
Yeah, ahead of Rianne Marcus.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect Van Empel to win that ahead of them.
Okay, but Marianne Vos a sprinter.
That's illegal. Calling Marianne Vos a sprinter, I will not accept that.
I don't know. If you want to top 10 the Tour de France, then that shape's not going to do it.
Then Marcus neither, eh? Because she was beaten by Marianne Vos on a mountain stage.
No, because she then came third in the Vuelta and has a much better time trial.
Marcus is clearly a GC rider, but I'm just high on the Van Empel train since Giro done last year. And this year the form hasn't looked that good, but I hope she finds it.
Yeah, but I would say that Marcus is the GC leader. Vos is the favourite for the points jersey. I think that should be the big goal for the team because I think podium with Marcus is going to be very difficult. Winning a stage in the TT, actually, Lieke Nguyen would have been the best rider to do that. But she's not on the start list. But she's a young rider that actually beat Marcus in the Dutch Natty Champs, I think, in the TT. And but she's not there. So Marcus and Henderson can go for that stage. But yeah, Vos, I would say, is their most realistic chance at a jersey. I think that's more realistic than Van Empel white jersey at the moment. And as we said, there's a lot of stages that suit Vos. So moving to Team Movistar.
Team ADQ maybe, or Movistar? Movistar, the thing is, Annemiek van Vleuten's gone.
Yeah.
So that team went from like up here to what's the goal now?
Yeah.
And obviously they've got options. Lippert can go for the hilly stage. And it's kind of breakaways, isn't it?
Well, Norsgaard won a stage last year from the breakaway. I think she's realised she doesn't have the pure sprint to really win the sprint stages. I think Meiling might try for GC. Baril's a good puncher, so Barilin, she gets in a breakaway, sort of those medium mountain stages. Baril's a pretty good rider. So, but yeah, it's definitely...
Say Mickey Mouse?
No. Baril's a good rider. Okay. She came 12th in flesh, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So... yeah, it's not the same highs as last year. Liverlula Jaco Mavi Garcia actually was excellent in the Olympic Games. She'll be going for a top 10 on GC with everyone in her wheel.
Yeah, should be doable, eh?
I think so. She's in really good shape. And Rosamund Gannon, and probably for some of the sprints, but it's not their best team, I don't think. Picking out some other riders maybe to look for. Marion Bunel on Saint-Michel Aubert. And did I do Sarah Tizet? Sarah Tizet, Kerbaul is probably their best chance for GC. The French rider Martelac is going to be their sprinter, or Catherine Schweinberger. I'm not sure which one, actually.
Or Alonso, because Sandra Alonso has been sprinter in the past as well. Milena de Zoete is more the track rider as well, but she started the season off with an injury, and when it comes to sprints, I think she got a fifth on the second stage in a sprint in the Giro d'Italia Women, so she could also be the potential sprinter, Milena de Zoete. So they've got a few options when it comes. I see Lockmore as the attacking option, because I feel when it comes to the top level races, she doesn't necessarily have that sprint that I expect these others to maybe have.
And the last couple of teams to look out for, Lotto Destiny Ladies with Toledo de Jong was very, very good in the classics. Cash Kent City women teams actually at this race because they got so many points, but actually they do have one, a decent rider, Yanina Kuskova. She's like 20 or something, like good Uzbek rider. She's quite powerful. But we're really in the weeds here. The last big team is UAE Team ADQ. Persico, good puncher. Bertit Solo is a sprinter, so she'll probably be their sprinter, I dare say. Elizabeth Holden and Michaela Harvey probably support, and Caroline Schwinkels is... I don't know what she'll do, actually. I think she should go in breakaways, but I don't see GC. So I think Schwinkels, who also has been very, very good this year, yeah, she's one to look out for.
Because Burgos, you'd say GC.
But Vuelta, she's no good.
Vuelta, you wouldn't say GC. So it's kind of like, depending on which Carlijn Swinkels shows up. And that's the case with a lot of riders on the start list, I feel like. Didn't we have quite a few riders where we were like, okay, on previous results of last year, we'd say yes, top 10 GC, top 5 GC, top 3 maybe, but some question marks on whether the form is there to do so on the major mountain stage, and I'm okay with that. But I have a feeling that when it comes to pure climbing, there's really no one here that I expect to be Demi Vollering head-on-head in this race, which that's not a hot take at all. That's pretty bloody obvious. So it has to come from tactics. So that's where the stages will be very important. And I think we might as well go through stages at the moment. And we're starting off with stage 1, 122 kilometers, and it's as flat as a pancake, basically, from Rotterdam to La Haye. I'm pretty sure that's The Hague in French. But first of all, echelons or no echelons?
No echelons is in the city, so I don't think so. I don't see it. It's too many buildings. So this is going to be a sprint between Wiebes and Charlotte Kool. There's no Consoni here, who might be the only rider who could be the wild card to break up that duopoly. But this is looking like a Wiebes yellow jersey to me. Balsamo, true. I still think with a good lead out she could do it, but no,
Wiebes has it on paper.
I think Wiebes should just win this, frankly.
But I hope it's close, I hope we get a bit of an upset, we get a bit of a battle at least. I don't need Wiebes to lose, but I need it to be close enough for me to believe that she might lose in the last 100 meters, which that's entertainment.
Enough. Stage 2 from Dordrecht to Rotterdam is another sprint. This is in the morning. This is 69 kilometers. This is stage 2, but it could be called stage 2A, but it is officially, I think, stage 2. And so, it's a 1 hour and a half stage. Again, a sprint, probably again Wiebes. I think it's going to be important for Vos to go for these sprints. And what's going to be interesting is, can Vos get a third? Can she get a fourth? Because for the green jersey competition, she's going to need high placements. So she'll also be really, really targeting these sprints. And then stage, what are you going to call this, Benji? B or 3?
I'll go out on a limb and say stage 3. It's Rotterdam to Rotterdam. It's not a flat sprint, but it's a flat, basically time trial. It's prologue distance, 6.3 kilometers, but it's not at start, so it's not officially a prologue. It's a 6.3 kilometer time trial. And yes, there's now a time trial in this race, but last year's time trial was kind of longer and didn't really end up making any influence. But this is kind of the first, and ironically, it's kind of the first battle for GC, which is weird to say because it's a 6.3 kilometer time trial. And on paper, Vollering's pretty damn good at time trialing. So I don't necessarily see weakness for her in this time trial, but it's more the top 10 candidates against each other that I think will be intriguing in this initial time trial, But to be clear, this time trial, I don't think the separation made in this time trial will matter significantly for the outcome of this race.
No, it's so short that 6 kilometers, I think all this matters is the stage win. And that's really Riolini's probably going to lose somehow 30 seconds, dead set.
Yep.
So that's going to be tough. Seriously, it's going to be tougher. What's that? That's 5 seconds per kilometer. It's possible that she does lose that.
Yeah. I think that's very possible.
Oh, have we picked stage? Who'd you pick for the stage win?
I've been trying to skip because I'm thinking through it in my mind when it comes to a 6.3 Lamborghini's time trial at Giro d'Italia Women was good. So Grace Brown, you'd argue, should be pretty good at it after the Olympics. I'm gonna stay close to home. I'm gonna go for Grace Brown.
Yeah, Grace Brown's hard to go past. I wish Nguyen was here because it would have been she could have won and it would have been the biggest upset. But I would have picked Grace Brown as well. But I'll go with Marcus. who should have been picked by the Netherlands for the TT, not Van Dijk. The next stage is stage... Yeah, Dygert, of course. And it's a better length for her. It's like it's a team pursuit length, just over 7 minutes. So I don't know how technical it is.
Sleeping on her.
I think Dygert actually should beat Marcus, but she can't handle a bike at the moment. So yeah.
But I'm gonna switch my pick. You can have Brown. I'll pick Dygert.
Okay, you go Dygert, I'll go Brown. Stage 4, this will be a GC stage. There will be gaps here, the way they race. From Valkenburg in the Netherlands into Liège. The first 75 Ks is rolling hills they do the Amstel final. They start the race with the Amstel final with the Bemelerberg, the Kouwberg. This is an interesting combo. And then they move into some sort of rolling terrain with no categorized climbs. There's plenty of time for Wiebes to come back. There's an intermediate sprint on the flat there between Vos and Wiebes. So unfortunately for Vos, that's on the flat. Then there's a 2.8k, 5.7% climb where we might even see early attacks. And then we start with the Liège final with Redoute, Côte de Forges, Côte de Rochefort-Faucon, which is 14 kilometers from the finish, and Boncel, which is 1,200 meters, 5.2%, and then obviously the plateau and fast descent run into the finish in Liège. So already big GC day. No Kopecky here, who would be the easy pick, and without her here, it's much more open, I think. So I don't actually know what's going to happen here.
Well, if we take a look at the parcours, the first start does inspire for breakaways a little bit, in my opinion. The Kouwberg, Bemelenberg, etc. It's options to get away there. Maybe form a bit of a group up ahead, and then it depends on the strength of that group, whether they make it until the final. The major difference for me between this stage and the stage that Yara Kastelein won last year was I think that stage was significantly longer last year, to the point that, was it? Let me check before I'm selling bullshit. Kastelein, last year she won stage 4 to Rodez, with a length of 177 kilometers. Yes, that's significantly longer. That's 50 kilometers less. That's 50 kilometers less to control a breakaway if you want to go for the stage. Makes it so much easier for a peloton to win.
And who's going to pace to drop Vos?
Vos is not a GC rider, so GC teams, maybe if SD-Works is really out there to try and win the stage, maybe.
I don't see that they're going to pace to drop everybody on these climbs to Vollering.
Why not put Blanca Vaj in a non-dangerous breakaway then?
They might.
But so we're saying non-dangerous breakaway. Who has lost 5 minutes by now? 2 sprint stage and a time trial of 6K.
So exactly, the jersey's still up for grabs. I mean, maybe it's close. I mean, this is where we should really see Faulkner. So I'm going to go with the Olympic champ Faulkner going on a flyer, and I think she's going to be tough to bring back, and I think she takes the yellow jersey for a little bit too. And Vos is second, winning the bunch sprint behind, and Visma can't bring it back because Marcus won't pull for her own GC.
I'm going to go for the ideal breakaway, as in the ideal late breakaway. Not just alone Faulkner. Brown joins her, and they go on their merry adventure, and Brown beats Faulkner in the sprint. So you got Brown on stage 3, I got Brown on stage 4.
Nice. Stage 5, Benji.
Stage 5 is... it's in Belgium, my friend. It's in Belgium. It's beautiful. Bastogne to Amnéville.
I've seen Bastogne. It ain't beautiful, brother.
You made me really sad now, but that is very true. Anyway, it's 150 roughly kilometers, 152. There's hills on the parcours. There's a KOM of 1.2 kilometers, 6% in the first 20 kilometers. There's a KOM halfway, 2 KOMs halfway, 1.5 at 7%, 1.5 at 5%. But I'd say this stage is really about the last 20 kilometers. There's 2 hills in there, 1.1k 4%, 1.7k 6%. This is no problem for Wiebes. Wiebes wins this stage.
Breakaway! It's not going to be a breakaway. Yep.
That's a good option, actually.
I like these little hills at the start. They're going to be more impactful than they look. And then you've got these 3k 5% climbs. This has got to be...
Bredewald?
This is the Yara Kastelein break stage of last year, to me.
This is a Norsgaard stage. No?
Yeah, or Ludwig in the Broe. I mean, if it goes to finish, I'm not sure. I mean, Ludwig on this finish is pretty good too. Vos on this finish, I wouldn't be so sure that Wiebes would automatically win. It's still 600 meters of 5.5%. So RSD Works going to go all out. I mean, Visma, if they haven't won a stage and Vos didn't win the stage before, they have to go for Vos here and for the points jersey. There's also bonies on top of the little uncategorized climb, about 20 Ks from the finish. It's going to be a good stage. I think a good break should go. There's so many teams we mentioned, like a Victoire Berthaud, anyone from UAE. I don't know, like, it's going to be good.
If you are Movistar, do you choose to go in the breakaway, or do you choose to make the Côte de Montois, La Montagne as hard as possible and go for Lippert on that uphill direct to the finish?
Lippert. They'll go for Lippert, I think, which is reasonable. I think it's reasonable.
It's a shame for them that the stage before doesn't finish an uphill drag.
I'm going for another crazy pick. Just because I'm going for Alison Jackson. I'm going EF again.
I kind of feel... You know when there's someone out there that goes for a crazy pick, you get FOMO. You get fear of missing out. So I kind of also want a crazy pick right now. And I'm going to go as my crazy pick for this stage. At least scrolling through the start list, hoping I can find someone.
I'll go Vash.
Could happen, to be honest. But I am going to go for Vash is... Yeah, but that's his D-Works, and on paper, they're going to win the entire thing. So it's also, when you look at Little Trek, what stage are they going to go for as stage? Is Shirin van Androoy on the stage before?
But Shirin van Androoy should go for this from the break, because they're not going to win from the finish in the peloton.
Or the Liège stage.
Yeah.
That's also for them. And then you look at Phoenix de Koning, and why did I go for Brown last stage? I'm gonna retract my stage 4. Floop. It's Puck Pietersen now. Puck Pietersen wins stage 4, and I don't know. Katza was gonna win stage 5 or something. That stage.
Yeah, overthinking these too much, Benji.
Yeah, it's gonna be an uphill sprint at this point. It's Vos.
I think it could be a breakaway. 5. I picked Alison Jackson because I think she could win from either, actually.
Okay. Pietersen stage 4, Vos stage 5 is mine.
But that should be an interesting stage, actually. Stage 6 is another difficult stage to predict, 160 kilometers long. From what I saw in Swiss in the Vuelta, this is a really good chance for a strong breakaway group to form. We have a 3.5K, 5.6% climb at 10 Ks in, a long valley, then another 3K 4.5% climb, then another 6K 4% climb. There's an intermediate sprint after the Cat 4 climb, where if Visma should try to drop Wiebes if the points competition is close, then we have because Wiebes she's a good rider, she went auto drop, and then we have another descent, and then a stepped climb. It's like 7Ks 4% rest, another 4Ks 4% rest, bonus gate, another bit of rest, then a 1800 meter 6.7% climb, then a descent finish, and then an uphill kick. Really, really strange stage. I think it's going to be a breakaway because I don't see why SD Works would control everything. Like, of course, Vollering could win with her sprint. She could.
Yep.
But I don't see that this is the stage that they really believe they can make the difference, because it isn't that stage to make the difference on GC. So I think this is quite open, actually. And
it's either a breakaway, or you look at this parkour and you say, okay, you've got maybe the peloton sticking together, and maybe a secondary tier 2 rider can attack on that stepped climb in between the steps, or it's more... I don't expect Vollering to just drop everybody there, so there's more options to attack, maybe as dual leadership if you want to try that. So that's also a possibility. But I'm leaning more towards breakaway as well, personally. But there's also not that many breakaways historically in, like, loads of the stage races we've had so far. Yes, we had them in Tour de France Femmes last year, so are we not over breakawaying this stage race so far?
No, when I look at the SD Works team, it makes me more sure there will be breaks.
especially on a more climbing stage like this, you know?
Because Kopecky, if she was in a team, I would think they would go for Kopecky to win this stage.
Yeah.
So I think this is the stage where Canyon Schramm have got to fire the first bullet of instigating an SD Works fuck up. And I think this is where you try to go in a large break and try and get SD Works to do the representation fallacy with Fisher Black. And hopefully you get a Lebu in there. And then you're in there with Bradbury. And then all of a sudden, it's not a good situation for SD Works. Yeah. And so I think Canyon Schramm got to try with the 2 leaders starting from here. And same goes for Little Trek.
I think so as well, especially because it's a stepped climb that the dual leadership really works, because Vollering can't just space away from people.
No.
But are you saying someone from that group wins? Or are you saying an early breakaway wins?
I think a good climber, like a top 10 GC level rider, wins from a breakaway. I think a strong and large break, like in Tour de Suisse where Bradbury won, wins this stage. And I'm going to go with Jesus. Who's a good rider?
I've got my pick.
You've already got yours. I'm going to go with Bradbury can't sprint. That's the problem. It's not that hard to finish. I don't know. Who's yours?
I'm going for Yara Castellan.
Cashline's a good pick. It's a really good pick because she's aggressive. She'll get in there.
Will they mark her? No.
No. She can go on the move for sure. I'm going to go with Kim Kadzau for this stage from the break. Stage 6, Benji, I think it's a similar situation.
Kadzau was a good pick as well, in my opinion. So that's certainly something. So stage 7, Champagnol to Le Grand Bornand.
Stage 7, yeah.
166.3 kilometers, pretty long stage. Also quite a bit of altitude meters. 2,752 altitude meters. Basically, the first 40 kilometers, it's like an uncategorized climb. They just roll over. It's not steep, but it's like up and down. And then they start like the first categorized climb called La Croix de la Sera, 12 kilometers, 5%. They descend that. We're now about 80 kilometers into the stage. We start a smaller climb, 2.4 kilometers, 5%. Then the next climb, 4 kilometers, 5%. So it's a bit of ups and downs in the middle of the stage, categorized ups and downs, but it's all about the final climb, which is, sorry, but this is also kind of a staircase climb with 2 steps. You've got the Col de Saint Jean the Sixth, which is 5.4 kilometers at 5% roughly, and then we finish on Montée de Chinaillon, 7 kilometers at roughly 5%. So this is not a steep climb.
Draft matters.
But it's still 12 kilometers of climbing if you don't count the little descent of like a half a kilometer in the middle. Is that enough for Vollering to drop everyone? I'm not sure about that.
Not really. Like, I swear Vinweiser was like 6.5% and had pinches in it. Like, I swear the Vuelta climbs were a little bit like 5% is in the wheel. Is not, and it's regular with rest periods. I don't know. I think this is
Garcia will be pacing the entire climb.
True. This is the real stage because like we've not really gone to the main course yet. This is the next stage. But for Canyon Schramm, the Tour de France, and for, to be honest, if you're Rihanna Marcus, if you're Elisa Longo Borghini, where you're like solid riders, you've done well in the medium mountains, you got to try here. You have to. This is where you got to create chaos for SD Works with the Cat 1. This Cat 1 is perfect where it's hard enough you can drop everyone except Fisher Black. I guarantee it. But it's not so hard that Vollering can just drop you, and it's 100 k's from the finish with rolling terrain afterwards. You have to create a group here and try and basically put Vollering in an impossible situation. And so that's going to happen. What will then happen is that Muzic will be in that group, DSM and Lebu won't be, and then DSM will chase, and so it actually won't work, is what I guess.
But it's also, I think the reason that it's also the stage to do so is because you don't have an 8% climb at the end. It is a long climb, but it's 5%, which means that it's gradients that if you explode, you won't lose 15 minutes on paper. So if it fails, you're not throwing away everything necessarily.
And Vollering then has to pace with your maybe A leader in the wheel the whole climb.
Exactly. So even if your attack fails, it still benefits your other A leader. Unless both your leaders are on the same level, then they might fight each other in the evening because you chose to send the other guy up red. But
Everybody's got to go against Vollering on this first Gal 1, and they got to try get her behind with no teammates and create something. What I think will, though, happen is that then the top 3 and top 5 teams, one of them will miss it, and then those teams will help Vollering chase. I dare say that we've seen that in cycling. But this is going to be an interesting stage. To pick a winner is difficult. I will pick... I don't know, to be honest. Because I'm going to go with... Are
you going to go with Bradbury, my friend?
I'm going to go with Niewiadoma from the break.
Okay.
No, Bradbury, because Niewiadoma is not going to be allowed in. I'm going to go with Bradbury.
I'm going to go with Kimberly Pinar.
It's a good finish for her, yeah, and she won that Giro stage.
It's not perfect, but it's like she's definitely going to have the freedom, in my opinion, and she can get over a climb.
Yeah. Also good for Sharon Van Anrooy. It's good for a lot of riders, frankly. Don't be surprised to see Royakkers in the break with Castellano or Peterser as well. They got to be in there. So very, very interesting stage. And I think everyone should be aggressive. But I think, break. Okay, last stage, Benji, the crazy big stage for this race.
Whew. What a massive stage. That is 150 kilometers, so the length is not massive, but the climbs in it are. We've got 2 climbs in the first 40 kilometers. The first one is uncategorized. It's like a solid 4 or 5 kilometers of uphill before we descend towards the first categorized climb, the Col de Tamier, 9.5 kilometers at 4%. And once you get over that climb, we're 40 kilometers in, and then the lead in towards the first big climb of this, well, I'd argue of this entire race, like first major climb of this entire race, Col du Glandon, starts at 80k to go, finishes at 100k to go. So 19.7 kilometers at 7%. That's huge.
Yeah.
That is as huge to the point that if Vollering wants to explode the race on this climb, she can drop everybody on paper based on last year on Tourmalet at least, and have minutes on them at the top.
It's a brutal climb. Like the last 3Ks of Glandon averaged 10%, 10.5% actually. And it goes to nearly over 1,900 meters. It's a step. It's a step descent actually, so it's not a normal descent. There's even a little hill, a couple of hills to climb on that descent. Where if you're chasing behind, I dare say Vollering can even take out the advantage on you. Maybe Niewiadoma can come back, but yeah, I think if you're Vollering, Benji, you just go on the last 3Ks of Glandon all out, and
you're never seen again.
No, and then just chill, like.
Yeah.
And then don't burn yourself on the descent against Niewiadoma maybe, and just push on the hills and then chill, and then the valley, if they're 30 seconds back, don't kill yourself in the valley, and then go again on Alpe d'Huez, which is the finish of this stage. 14Ks 8%. It's regular. The middle part is the hardest with 4 or 5 kilometers at 9%. The finish last K is 3%. So, but there'll be separation before there. I think Vollering should win this by minutes, frankly. Because all she needs the team to do is just get her to do the first 10Ks of Glandon to the middle flat bit and make sure her break in that valley doesn't go crazy and get even if it did get a minute, it doesn't matter. So I just don't see a situation where she doesn't win by minutes.
Sorry, but a 19.7 kilometer climb, is it even that bad? If I would even consider a different strategy for this stage. Maybe it's a little more risky, but maybe it's also way more dominating if you do this strategy where be with a Bredewold in that group that goes, and then control the gap with the rest of the riders towards that breakaway. So it's something that is bridgeable to the point that Bredewold might be able to help you after Glandon, which that gap needs to be solid for that group for that to be the case. If you want to try and drop everybody towards Bredewold and have her in the valley afterwards. Because that's peak satellite rider work, then, eh?
Yeah, just put Fisher Black, put Bredewold in the break. 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then just do what Visma did on Col de la Loze last year with Benoit and Kelderman. And have satellite rider 1, satellite rider 2. And then Majerus can make it keep it. She only has to keep it 5 minutes. And then Vollering attacks across. Bredewold pulls for 2-3 minutes, helps her get separation. Because that's the thing.
But
Vollering going early is not a problem if no one's in her wheel. Then it's woman against woman. And this is steep. So if Bredewold just can do a 30-second pull to get everyone else off the wheel, and then you get across to Fisher Black, rinse and repeat, then yeah, it's game over.
But I do feel like a rider like Royster is so much better for this work than a Fisher Black, because obviously she's not here. But imagine if you have a Royster in that valley, because a Fisher Black ain't going to do anything in that valley.
I would use Fisher Black just to launch like Glandol.
Yeah, I
don't think they'll do it. They're not going to do it like that. I think Fisher Black will want to ride for her own GC on afterwards.
I think so too.
And probably Vollering can win anyway.
Even though she's only 23 for the white jersey.
But yeah, Vollering wins the stage. I think she doesn't start the stage in the leader's jersey, but she takes it. I think it might actually be. I think it might actually be a bit close. Like she really has to take minutes, like maybe a minute or a minute and a half, because of the previous stages. If my breakaway theories play out on one of them, but in the end, she takes 3 minutes and she wins GC by 1.5 minutes minimum, and she should win this stage by over 3 minutes.
The thing is, look, Lotte Kopecky not being in this race does limit how many stages that SD Works can realistically win, which
they won
can
like 5
actually
last
be
year, right?
a good thing. Yes, but I think that can actually be a good thing for the team, because last year it didn't come at the cost really.
But they didn't focus on her GC until like one stage.
Exactly. Is there a possibility that they do that again regardless of Kopecky not being here, that they just go for as many stages as possible, and then Vollering goes all out on the stage again and wins GC after winning four stages with the team?
The worst thing FDJ Suez can do is to announce that if she signed there, do not announce it before Monday.
Nah, it needs to be on like Monday morning.
That would
just
not
like Wiebes 2 years ago.
That would not be smart. So yeah, but I think it's hard to go past Vollering for this stage. And so let's quickly go through the jerseys, Benji. I think Vollering wins this stage in terms of the white jersey, which I do like that it's U23.
Really?
I'm going with Neve. Yeah, I'm going with Neve Bradbury. Although Peterson is a big wild card. You going with Bradbury as well? Okay.
Yeah.
For the Queen of the Mountains jersey, there are some points available. Like they've put a nice Cat 1 on stage 7, but it's literally 2 HC climbs on stage 8. Yeah. I think it's going to be Vollering. Yep. I just can't see past it. Points jersey, I'm going with Marianne Vos, because actually there's 2 pure sprints in this race, and then we didn't pick Phoebus for another stage.
Yep.
I go with Vos.
I do think she's gonna come close if it's a sprint on that what's it called? Stage 5. Yes, stage 5. I think she can come close there, because I think she's even competitive for the victory if they get her to that climb. Yeah. The way she's been climbing recently. So I'm looking at the intermediate sprints for a second. There's 3 stages where intermediate sprints are basically between climbs. I'm going to go, but then again, breakaways might take points away.
Yeah, I think so, but Vos can go on the break.
I think Wiebes wins it.
Okay. I'll go with Vos. I think there's just not enough pure bone. I think these medium mount ones are just too difficult. Like the Liège one's just a bit too difficult.
You need Vos to get close on the first 2 stages.
Yeah, Vos needs to top 5 both the sprints.
And needs to top 5 or top as close as possible on the Valkenburg-Liège stage.
Yeah.
Which is not unrealistic.
She should win that probably.
She could definitely podium stage 5. She can win that. So if Jumbo wants green, they need to go for that stage. Surviving stage 6 will be a bit difficult.
I think it's going to be a good competition, I think. I think it's going to be a good competition. I'm looking forward to it. So Phoebus and Vos there. Maybe there's even a while. Maybe we're disrespecting Elisa Balsamo. Maybe she's a third rider in that category. And the final one, GC, starting with the podium. I'm going with Neve. No, sorry, I'm going with Nivea Doma 3rd, Neve Bradbury 2nd, and Demi Vollering 1st.
I am going to go with... I low-key want to put Labou in 3rd, but I feel like she's going to be 4th. I'm going to go with my heart, not with my head. Labou will get 3rd.
Nice.
Even though she climbed worse than Longo Borghini at the Giro d'Italia Women. I feel like Nivea Doma will be 2nd. I'm going to go for a top 4. I'm sorry. I'm going to predict the top 4. Labou is going to be 4th. Longoborghini will be 3rd. And Niewiadoma will be 2nd. And first will be... Vollering, obviously. Imagine if I chose someone else.
Yeah,
it would actually been good.
Who knows?
If we can select the hot take winner for this race, who is it?
My hot take winner would be Bradbury going in some absolute shit show happens where she gets like 6 minutes in a uncontrolled break on stage 6 or 7.
I'm gonna go with Buck Pieterse, who becomes a GC rider out of nowhere.
Never done a stage race, wins Tour de France. That'd be a pretty good start.
That'd be fucking go to.
Don't be, like who knows? But I think maybe Mavi Garcia. She just choo-choos her way from start to finish to win. She's already started pacing. But yeah, I would say Bradbury would be the most likely for a big upset.
Yeah.
Okay, that was our preview for the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift, brought to you by Join Cycling. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting race, particularly some of these middle stages, which just provide a lot of platforms for teams to do something. And if there's one thing we've really seen in the women's racing this year, is that the other teams are trying to put the hurt on SD Works. It's not like 2 years ago where sometimes we would complain of helping them too much. There is really a change now where they try to put them under pressure. We saw it in Swiss. And so I'm hoping we see that in these stages. Of course, we have one of the hardest ever stages in women's cycling we've ever seen on stage 8, which will be cool as well as some pancake flat sprints.
I'm going to say that I feel like the Tour de France Femmes is raced differently than other stage races in the year, because last year, the other teams really put SD Works in a position where they lost 2 breakaway stages. That in other stage races, I believe other teams would have held them base for.
Because the stage means so much. And so teams are like, they really go for it. So I think we're going to see some really interesting racing in these middle stages and unconventional racing, even a short TT. Who knows? I struggled to really, apart from stage 8, really, and Weber's sprints, really say exactly who would win. It's very difficult. It's very open. Hope you enjoyed the preview. We'll see you on Monday, if not earlier, unless there's some breaking news. We'll see you on Monday with the recap of stage 1 in the Netherlands. But until then, and thanks for joining Cycling. Ciao.